But yeah, with that all said, our stage has been picked. We're all ready. We are going to be going to Squared Squared. Starting things off. What? We got Ouroboros, which is a good first play, but it's like, what are you doing from there? We have the Splat Charger that can be used for a Pierce. Curious about this defensive play. If that's something to be considered, we probably want to try to push here. Hydra Splatling coming in to try to cover some turf as well. And Black Rose doing a really solid job with placement to make that as difficult as possible to stop that Gnarly Eddie from coming down eventually. But right now, with the Splat Charger, that's going to be a pretty easy feat to perform. And that sectioned off area is not nearly as sectioned off as Rose might be hoping. Maxim looking for a spot to drop this Rainmaker, and that would get the special. Just so snug and cozy there. I think that, yeah, that also gives Rose's starting piece a special, though. That almost does. I'm being reminded by myself that I should leave the poll up for a lot longer because I forget that you're all stuck to a 1-minute delay. If Rose decides to press down at the bottom, this isn't going to do too much, and the very little it does do. But it was a nice play, it was a solid attempt. Does mean that Maxim's home turf is going to be pressured very heavily. Pretty shut down at this point. Where Rose actually still has a chance to protect a very good 4x... Let's see, what's that? 4x7 grid. Which he would absolutely benefit from retaining. Good Kohozuna spot there. If you drop it down one, that turns into a Pentatech spot. Which we see is already in the field. Granted, we already have one other good spot for a Pentatech. So that's not necessarily too important to find a second. Oh, the Nova comes in! It was being considered by Maxim, and unfortunately for him, he's not going to be able to break into that turf now. And Rose has a very secure place. If he's got like a couple of small cards to play, he might be able to do a bit of base building there. Where Maxim is working with steam. There is so little space to work with. Can get away with doing this. This actually... That turns it into... With that placement, that turns it into a 4 special Pentatech spot. As... It would grant Black Rose 1. But it could potentially give 3 to... Would have also got an overwrite off of that. Which would have been huge. Respect the Pentatech call, though. And out comes the Kraken. Looking to put more pressure in. Looking to put more fear. We've got space to play more cards now. We don't really have a good spot for the Pentatech splatter shot. But you kind of just want to fill up the space. And if you drop it down, it can combo with the Splatana Wiper if you set it up right. That's not going to be a good combo setter, but also kind of prevents... You know what? We take those. We take those. An excellent excellent catch. I wouldn't call it a read, but that was definitely a catch of the day. We're probably expecting a Little Judge, so I like the call here to try to plant the Wiper perfectly in place for the Little Judge square. So if Rose happens to call out the wrong setup, he might Maxim might run away with a special point. Or if Maxim gets his little Judd, we've got a clean spot to drop it. No way to prevent that special block from Rose from being gained, but Maxim really needs to get at least two more special, and this is going to secure him that. One turn is probably going to be passed. I don't see much that he can do with it. He doesn't really have any cards available, so it is really down to like what Rose does for the final few turns. But seeing as he's passing here, he might actually be in a position where he can 2 special now. And at a 20-point deficit, he needs to play like 2 solid specials. If he's got Kraken Royale, that's 24 points right there. Which means that he needs... So that puts him at a 4-point lead. And then it's all on Maxim to find a good Zipcaster spot, and I think I see a few opportunities. Black Rose does see an opportunity, goes for it, gets a special, gets 19, he's 1 point behind. He has enough for another special. And now it's about finding that perfect spot. There's a few really good opportunities for the Zipcaster, so I'm worried about what Black Rose is going to be doing. If he's got that Kraken Royale, this game is already set. But yeah, there are a couple, like that center special from Black Rose would be enough. Or it does open up a lot of space for him to reclaim some special. Or reclaim turf. That's 2 points down from perfect. That might be the best call he's got. I think that was a perfect Tenta-Missile, though. I'm pretty sure that was a perfect Tenta-Missile, and that's going to be Rose claiming the game by a single point. Incredible first bout. Really solid plays. And unfortunately, while Maxim got the 2 special he really needed off of that Judd, he ended up giving Rose the perfect amount of special to be able to counterattack. And finished things off with a counter. A perfect play to claim the first point. Stages have been struck. Stage location has been made. And we are going to be heading over to Lakefront. What looked to be in the bag for Maxim in that first game, just really phenomenal turnaround from... Oh! Black Rose. That might be the best Marigold you can play. Because there's very little that lady is going to be able to do in this situation. I've come to be a lot more fond of the... Those are both your, like, home-based big cards that you want. That's heartbreaking. Game, please. That's heartbreaking. Why would you do this? But we're finally starting to get some other cards. Where do we want to put this? This is not going to defend. You'd have to get the hardest reads to defend, because I do not see, or Rose just has garbage cards, because there's no way he's not playing into that. We do have the Little Judd. I'd like to see that played more for special game. I respect the idea of trying to press, but you don't have any cards that can. And chances are very high you're not going to get the special. now. On top of that, Black Rose can very easily wall off the area, and now you have nothing. Like that was a greedy push. That was a unnecessary play that, while I respect it, I respect the worry, I respect the idea that you want to try to get in there as fast and quick as possible. But it really makes it really easy for stuff like this to happen. Finally gets their first special, but they need... Oh, I mean, they could tend to tech if they're really that desperate to rush into that tip space. Though, they don't even have any cards that they could really use. The bucket, the strainer... Yeah, I think they're cooked at this point. This is looking like a very tough place to be. There's a couple of spots to get the Tentatek to start getting set up. But it's just one of those situations now that we've got only 2 special, there's a 14-point difference. That's not even granting you any special. That's not doing any good work with combos. Like, that Little Judd needed to be put by the Gnarly Eddie to get that special, and unfortunately for Maxim, he got a little too anxious, a little too worried, and rushed right into what probably is a already finished narrative. Elite charging in. That means that what little space Maxim has to work with is no longer available. Good combo set up there, but because of that sniper, that charger, it's been taken away. And that's rough, considering that's 2 special that is so deeply needed right now. Maybe hoping for a read. Does get a read, but positioning is off and does not get a special from it. Forced to pass, and on the final 3 turns, there's still a lot of room for Black Rose. There's a 14-point difference right now. It's going to be really hard for Maxim to be able to turn things around. Final 3 rounds. We might be stuck passing again unless there's a very specific thing you could do to get like 2 special and then you pass. And even then, like the way these special blocks are set up, you're not even going to be gaining too many points. I feel like the situation is a little cooked, and I think Maxim recognizes that as well, as they resign and give Rose a second point. Black Rose now in a major advantageous spot point. Looking for one more win to advance. You might know Maxim pushed onto the back heel. It's a little rough. It's a little scary. But if you've got a good deck, you believe in the heart of the cards, you can still make it through. And that's a pretty good starting hand. I don't think it's the starting hand they need, but it's the starting hand they're going to have to make do with. Looking to utilize Gelafleur to block things out. Try to get some kind of defense. This is a River Drift kind of block, which can very easily be pierced if Rose is looking for the right play. More often than not, Thunderpoint tends to cut off at an angle rather than a straight line like this. Oh, he tried so hard, but was one away from really making it work. And now Rose is in a position where he might be able... He could run away with that little cut and do some serious damage. Ooh, overwrites the Marina. Gets a lot of very, very needed points. Trying to find somewhere for this S-Blast, but it already feels like we're starting to run into a rough place here. It's a solid deck, but is the synergy really there? I see how some of these cards are supposed to play into each other, but it feels like each one is meant to play into one other card, and the hard thing about Tableturf is you do not have the reliability to do that consistently. In comes a Clash. We get a special off of that. But yeah, like, Rose has all of his turf still. Maxim has been struggling to keep his, and we've only got a 10 to tech to play once again. We're gonna get 2 special off of it this time, which is really nice. But 10 points difference, 6 turns remaining. There's one spot to put it, and it's only fitting. It's not doing anything of impact, unfortunately. Going for a safe sprinkler play. Rose gets a few more points. I know he's looking for one specific card to cover that home turf that could potentially net him 3 special. Maxim forced to pass. Isn't actually that far behind, all things considered. Just needs to find his core few cards to really push things through. Might even be able to get away with like a 5 to a 3. If he recognizes like that is his game plan, rather than playing a 3-12 now, he might be in on this. But I do in the idea of like looking for the optimal place to play these cards, that's respectful. I don't think this is the play. Looking for a way to kind of keep the chain going. What I want to see though is a pass. And then playing something big. And getting enough special to finish the game off with a 3-12. The fact that he passed up that big man, though, is hugely, hugely detrimental to that game plan and that strategy. 5 seconds left. They're going to lock into something that's only going to give Black Rose more fuel, though, and barely gains any points. 2 turns left. That would have been the perfect play. I think Maxim had something. It's just they couldn't see it through. Didn't see the game plan. Didn't see the strategy. And unfortunately for him, that's going to result in a loss as he gets knocked into the lower bracket.